Welcome back to Mega Stadiums. Today, we are ranking every single Premier League stadium for the 2026-27 season. 20 clubs, 20 grounds, from ancient fortresses that have hosted football for over a century to the most technically advanced arenas in the sport. Before we get into it, one thing needs to be said from the top. Every stadium in this division is elite in its own right. We are talking about the best league in the world. Being towards the bottom of this list does not make your ground a bad place to watch football. It just means the competition at the top is extraordinary. Let's get started. Number 20, MKM Stadium. Hull City's MKM Stadium holds 24,620 supporters and has been the club's home in Kingston upon Hull since 2002. Built to a solid, modern template, it is a clean and well-run venue. 4 covered stands, decent facilities, and a straightforward matchday experience. The problem is context. Everything the MKM Stadium does well, the stadiums above it on this list do better at greater scale, with more history behind them. Hull returned to the Premier League for the 2026-27 season after a dramatic playoff final triumph over Middlesbrough. And that story is the most exciting thing about this entry. A good stadium, good enough for the championship. In this company, it starts the list. Number 19, Brentford Community Stadium. Brentford's home in West London opened in 2020 and holds 17,250 supporters. In its category, a compact, modern, football-specific ground built to smart principles with sharp sightlines and thoughtful design. It is very close to the top. The problem is category. At 17,000 seats, it is the second smallest in the division, and size matters in the Premier League, both for atmosphere and for the revenue streams that allow clubs to compete. The Bees have punched well above their weight since promotion, and the stadium has been a genuine fortress. The noise it generates on a good night is disproportionate to its footprint, but competing with what lies above it on this list is simply not possible at this scale. Number 18, Vitality Stadium. Bournemouth's Vitality Stadium holds 12,357 supporters, making it by some distance the smallest in the Premier League. Originally opened in 1910 and redeveloped in 2001, it is a compact, characterful ground that carries the warmth of a club that still feels rooted in its community, despite operating at the top level of English football. Bournemouth qualify for the UEFA Europa League for the first time in the club's history, which adds a dimension to the Vitality Stadium it has never had before. The atmosphere on those nights will be something, but 12,000 seats, limited premium infrastructure, and the smallest footprint in the league mean this ground cannot go any higher. And the club knows it. Expansion is underway. The stadium's role in Bournemouth's story is not finished yet. Number 17, Portman Road. Portman Road in Ipswich is one of English football's most dignified old grounds. Open since 1884, it holds 30,056 supporters in a setting that feels like proper football. Tight, enclosed, proud, with a fan base that has waited a long time for moments like this. Ipswich returned to the Premier League, having bounced straight back up after relegation, and there is something fitting about a club with this much history refusing to settle for the championship. Portman Road deserves to host top-flight football. Whether the squad around it is ready to stay there this time is the question for this season. Number 16, Selhurst Park. Selhurst Park has stood since 1924 and holds just over 25,000 supporters in southeast London. It sits at 16, not because the matchday experience is anything less than extraordinary. On the right night, with the Holmesdale Road end in full voice, this is as atmospherically intense as almost anything in the division, but because the infrastructure around it belongs to a different era. Compact stands, limited concourse space, aging facilities. The long-planned redevelopment has moved forward in stages and remains a work in progress. This season, Selhurst Park will host European football, but the ground itself is still waiting for the transformation that will match the ambition growing around it. Number 15, City Ground. Nottingham Forest's City Ground sits beside the River Trent in one of English football's most evocative settings. Built in 1898, it holds 30,445 supporters and carries the kind of history that money cannot manufacture. The ground itself has improved steadily during Forest's return to the top flight. It is a fine place to watch football, with an atmosphere that scales up significantly on the big occasions. Number 14, Stamford Bridge. Chelsea's Stamford Bridge comes in at 14, and the familiarity of the ground's problems should not obscure how significantly they weigh on the experience. Opened in 1905, it holds 40,044 supporters in West London, and it carries more than a century of great nights behind it. But the stadium has felt like a venue in temporary residence for years. The long-running redevelopment saga, which has consumed the club on and off since 2015, remains unresolved. The commercial limitations of a stadium that cannot meaningfully grow, surrounded on all sides sides by constrained urban land are a structural problem that no ownership group has yet found a path around. No European football this season for Chelsea means the bar of expectation is lower heading in. Number 13, Craven Cottage. Craven Cottage has been Fulham's home since 1896, which by itself earns it a special place in the story of English football. Sitting on the north bank of the Thames, with the Cottage Pavilion and the Johnny Haynes stand still standing as Archibald Leach originals, it has a character that no modern build can replicate. The completed Riverside stand, which opened fully in 2025, added both capacity and something extraordinary in the form of a rooftop swimming pool, hotel rooms, a riverside walkway, and hospitality that belongs in a different conversation to most Premier League grounds. Last season, this was a top 5 stadium in the division. This season, it steps back slightly, not because anything has changed at the ground itself, but because the competition around it has intensified. Craven Cottage is still one of the most special places in English football. Number 12, Fulham Stadium. The Fulham Stadium holds just under 32,000 supporters in the hills outside Brighton. Opened in 2011, it is one of the most architecturally confident mid-sized grounds in English football. Clean lines, excellent sight lines, a bowl that sits naturally in its downland setting and creates a properly enclosed atmosphere on the big occasions. For a club that was in the lower leagues at the start of the century and is now a consistent presence in the Premier League's upper half, the Fulham Stadium represents everything done right. A purpose-built home that has grown with the club and continues to match what's being asked of it. Number 11, Coventry Building Society Arena. The Coventry Building Society Arena holds 32,609 supporters in Coventry and enters the 2026-27 Premier League in a moment that few in the city dared to believe would actually arrive. Coventry City are back in the top flight for the first time in 25 years, founding members of the Premier League returning to where they belong. The club purchased the arena outright in August 2025, ending a years-long stadium dispute. Now they are back in the Premier League, in their own stadium, in their own city, with their supporters finally able to enjoy top-flight football on their own terms. That is what this ground represents this season. Not a capacity figure or a facilities checklist, a city getting its club back. Number 10, Elland Road. Elland Road has been Leeds United's home since 1897 and holds 37,645 supporters in one of English football's most committed football cities. The ground ranks 10th in this list and earns that position through the force of what it is, rather than what it offers in the way of modern amenity. When it is full and the occasion demands it, Elland Road is as loud and as ferocious as almost anywhere in the division. The relationship between this fanbase and this ground is one of English football's defining bonds. The long-awaited expansion plans confirmed in the past 12 months will, in time, add seats and modernize facilities. But for now, the ground itself remains a testament to history, to loyalty, and to the kind of atmosphere money cannot simply manufacture. Number 9, St. James's Park. St. James's Park sits above the city of Newcastle at a capacity of 52,264, perched on a hill that makes it impossible to miss. Opened in 1892 and expanded over the generations into one of the largest club grounds in England, it carries the weight of a club with one of the most devoted fan bases in the sport. The noise levels it can generate on the big European and Derby nights are among the most significant in the country, and with Newcastle's Saudi-backed ownership continuing to invest in the squad, the expectation around St. James's Park is growing. Number 8, Etihad Stadium. The Etihad Stadium has just entered a new chapter. The £300 million expansion of the Pep Guardiola stand was completed in time for the final match of last season. Capacity now stands at just over 61,000, making it the 4th largest club ground in England. And the full hotel, museum and fan zone that form part of the Medlock Square development are due to open later in 2026, taking the Etihad campus step closer to the year-round destination model it is aiming for. An interesting season follows. New manager Enzo Maresca arrives to take over from Guardiola, and this is both the most significant transition in the stadium's history and the moment it opens with more capacity and better facilities than ever before. A new era, a bigger stage. Number 7, Stadium of Light. Sunderland's Stadium of Light sits in 7th place this season, and it earns that position with a combination of scale, momentum, and occasion. It holds 48,095 supporters, making it one of the largest stadiums in the Premier League. Sunderland have now completed their 2nd consecutive season in the top flight, following their long journey back from League One, and this year they bring European football to Wearside for the first time in over a decade. The Stadium of Light on a European night will be extraordinary. A crowd that size, a fan base that has waited this long, and the kind of noise noise this city generates when football gives them a reason. The momentum around the club and the ground is real. This is not just a big stadium. It is a big stadium with something to prove. Number 6. Hill Dickinson Stadium. Everton's Hill Dickinson Stadium sits at 6th, and it holds its position through the sheer quality of what has been built. With a capacity of 52,769, it is the newest major stadium in English football, a deliberately designed arena that draws on the industrial maritime heritage of the Liverpool waterfront, with a 14,000-seat South Stand inspired directly by Borussia Dortmund's Yellow Wall. The move from Goodison Park was seismic, and in its first full season, the Hill Dickinson Stadium has begun to develop the kind of intensity that defines Merseyside football. Everton are still building their identity in this building, and the fan base is still embedding itself in the new surroundings. But the stadium itself is already operating at an elite level. Number 5. Tottenham Stadium. The Tottenham Stadium remains the finest venue in English football by the metrics that define a matchday experience. Opened in 2019 with a capacity of 62,850, it leads the Premier League on every measure of infrastructure. The retractable pitch that converts seamlessly between grass and artificial turf, the tunnel club running directly past the players' tunnel at pitch level, the rooftop sky bar, the premium hospitality, the NFL capability. It sits 5th this season because context matters, and the context around it is about as unusual as the Premier League has ever produced. Tottenham finished 17th and came within 2 points of relegation in one of the most chaotic campaigns in the club's modern history. Roberto De Zerbi is now the manager, and this season is the beginning of a reset that the club and its supporters are desperate to deliver. The stadium is unquestionably the best equipped in the division. Whether it becomes the stage for a comeback that matches it is the story of this season. Number 4. Villa Park. Villa Park has been Aston Villa's home since 1897 and holds 43,205 supporters in one of English football's most storied settings. The ground has hosted FA Cup semi-finals, England internationals, and European nights across more than a century of football in Birmingham, and this season it hosts them again. Villa return to the Champions League, and that changes everything about what Villa Park becomes on those midweek evenings. The expansion of the North Stand, which will push capacity closer to 50,000, continues in the background, but the headline this season is the occasion itself, one of English football's great traditional grounds, lit up by the biggest club competition in the world, with a fan base that has waited to feel this again. Number 3. Old Trafford. Old Trafford comes in at 3rd this season, and this is the entry on this list that carries the most dramatic shift from 12 months ago. Last season, it sat at 17. This season, it belongs in the top 3. Manchester United finished 3rd in the Premier League under Michael Carrick and returned to the Champions League for the first time since 2023. Champions League football at Old Trafford transforms the proposition entirely. European nights in this building at 74,500 capacity, with all the history this place carries, remain among the most charged occasions in club football. Old Trafford is now definitively living out its final great chapters. That gives every match here a weight that no other stadium in the division can replicate right now. Number 2. Anfield. Anfield is Anfield, home to Liverpool. Since 1892, it is one of the great sporting theatres on earth, a ground where the atmosphere builds before kickoff and does not stop until long after the final whistle. The Kop is the most famous stand in English football. You'll Never Walk Alone is the anthem the rest of the sport has spent decades trying to replicate. Liverpool come into this season on the back of a campaign that fell well short of what this club and its supporters demand. The title went to Arsenal, and Anfield felt the frustration of a fan base that expects to be competing for everything. That hunger in a ground of this size and this intensity is its own kind of force. Anfield earns 2nd place through the combination of what it is, what it does on match day, and the irreplaceable character that comes from a century and a third of football in the same place. Some venues have facilities, Anfield has something else entirely. Number 1. Emirates Stadium. The Emirates Stadium takes the top spot this season, and the reason is simple. Arsenal are the Premier League champions, ending a 22-year wait that has consumed a generation of supporters. Mikel Arteta lifted the trophy on the final day of the season, and the Emirates Stadium enters this campaign as the home of the champions of England. Opened in 2006 with a capacity of 60,704, it is one of the finest football stadiums in the world. Superb sightlines from every seat, a scale that matches the ambition of the club that plays in it, and an atmosphere that has grown with every passing season under Arteta's project. Arsenal also reached the Champions League final, meaning this season brings title defense, Champions League football, and the kind of momentum that fills a stadium with genuine belief. The Emirates is not the most historic ground on this list. It is not the biggest, but in the summer of 2026, it is the best place in English football to watch a match. The champions play there. And that is our complete ranking of all 20 Premier League stadiums. From Hull's return to the top flight to the Emirates hosting the champions, from Sunderland's first European nights in over a decade to Old Trafford experiencing more European nights, this is a season with more stories attached to its grounds than almost any before it. Do you agree with the list? Let us know your rankings in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss anything. Thanks for watching. See you next week.